You are listening to the Starter Girls podcast with Amy Lafitte
and Jennifer Loading.
And whether you are starting a project, starting a business, starting a brand, or starting a movement, we are here to talk about it. And I'm super excited to be in studio today with Jennifer. We're actually in a brand new, beautiful studio space. So if you're watching us on Facebook Live, you're going to see it looks a little bit different than what we have been in before. And really excited about what's going on in Venture X, and as they're kind of updating their podcast space, it's really beautiful here. So
yeah, we love it. We're not in a closet anymore.
We're not in a closet.
We have rooms. So we're super excited about that. But yeah, lots of fun stuff going on. And so Amy and I were kind of chatting on about what's been going on for the week, and I've been doing a whole lot of networking, which has been incredibly fun, meeting a lot of really neat people. And so for our guests that are going to be listening to this, we have some amazing guests that are going to be coming on the show, and we're super, super excited about that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love meeting new people and getting their stories, and it's been incredibly crazy because I haven't met a whole lot of people. All of the connections that I've made have just been really good, solid connections. Yeah. So super excited about that. And what's been going on in your world this week?
Well, I just got back from Orlando.
That's right.
Yeah, so I was at a convention for my health and wellness company, and it was absolutely amazing. It was probably the best convention I've ever been to, and I've gone to conventions for over 15 years, so that's saying something. So I was just so impressed and excited about what's happening. But the fun thing is I got my husband to go with me.
Awesome.
Yeah, and he's a very introverted person, so he doesn't normally go travel with me or go to stuff with me. And actually he didn't really attend the event, but he was there with me. And then afterwards we went to Disney, and we had so much fun at Disney. And my husband is a huge Star Wars fan, and Disney now has an entire a whole Star Wars world, land.
So awesome.
It's amazing.
Oh.
Yeah, and they have new rides. In fact, they have one ride that you have to get into groups. It's called Rise of the Resistance, and it is you have to get in the park and get your time at 7 a.m. That's when they open up the park. And so I'm not a morning person.
No, and you were up early.
For this, I had to get up at 4:30 in the morning.
Wow. And
we got to the park at 6, and they get you checked in or whatever, and then everybody's basically just waiting with their phone apps ready to go at 7 a.m. and you have to hop on and get a boarding group right then, because by 5 minutes in they're done. You already have it for the whole day. And I will say, though, despite all of the craziness to make that happen, it is the most amazing. Well, first off, Disney is amazing, right?
Right.
The rides are just
Yes.
unlike anything you've ever seen. It's not just going to Six Flags or something. This is the newest, bestest version of Disney doing anything. I was continuously surprised and shocked as the ride continued. They just did that.
Wow.
We were able to just do that. How did they even oh my, it was just overwhelmingly amazing.
Wow.
So anyway, if you get to go with your kids, I recommend it. And even though it's kind of a pain, it's so worth it. And then we had the most epic time. The next day we were at Magic Kingdom. And I had one of those most amazing moments of my entire life, for real. So it was 8 o'clock at night, and they do fireworks, and we decided not to worry about the fireworks because we were we need to get on this ride. And this ride, it's literally when we stood in line, it was 160 minutes long, which is funny how they do it in minutes because you're not really processing. And so a lady comes on and she's like, so just so you know, the wait for this ride is 160 minutes long, which is 2 hours and 40 minutes. So just be alert. And it had been that all day. So it's well, obviously it's a good ride, right? It's the Seven Dwarfs Runaway Mine Train or whatever. So we're in line, and I told Luke, because I kind of knew, I was before we'd even gotten in line, I was go get your drink, go get, we're going to be here a while, yeah, whatever you need, pretty much. And so we actually managed, I don't know what happened, but somehow they figured out a way to make it faster, and literally it was only 30 minutes that we waited, which was insane. So we're on the thing, and right before we're getting on the ride, I'm hearing these, a boom, and I'm okay. I was maybe that's the fireworks, I don't really know. And so we get on the ride, and it's cool because you go into the caves and you see the Seven Dwarves, and they're singing their hi-ho and all their fun songs, and it's the most beautiful ride. And then you get outside in between the caves, and you're of course riding this roller coaster the whole time. And so we're on the roller coasters, all the feels, right? You're so excited, and it's exciting, and all of a sudden we look up and there's fireworks, and we're going up this when you go up the really, really high, we're going up the really, really high hill where you can see basically the entire park. and there's like fireworks going off, and I was like, Luke, this is like one of the best moments of my whole life. I was like, we're like on The Bachelor or something. I was like, here's my final rose, like, let's go. Like, it was just
Fireworks. Was that the first time you've been to Disney?
No, I've been, but it was my husband's only his second time.
Okay.
I love Disney.
I do too. It's one of my favorite places. I was actually last night. I met a gal and we were talking about that. That I've been to Disney a couple times. I went when I was a teenager with my family, and then I took my kids and another girlfriend and I. We loaded the kids up, went in a van, and we went down there. It was like a girls' kid trip, and it was so funny because my kids at the time were. I mean, they were little, but they were old enough to do things. And I remember waiting in line. And I've said this before. If you don't know me, you know me. If we're going to a park, we're shutting that place down. If I'm paying for tickets to go to that park, we're going when it opens. We're going to be there till it closes. My kids knew I was not lying. We closed the park down. But we had so much fun. And I joke about this because I was telling this girl last night that I don't even know if they had as much fun as I did. Like, I'm like, just pack me in your suitcase and take me to Disney World. But it's a place of magic. Like, it's fairy tale. It's fun. It's beautiful. It's creative. You just, I don't know, it's like dreaming, it's just, and I went on a cruise once, I actually went on a couple cruises, but my favorite has always been the Disney cruise. And you know why? Because when you walk on, they clap for you.
Aww.
It's like, I always talk about, it's like, we talk about Mary Kay Cosmetics, it's like the Mary Kay of cruises. Like, you come on and they're like cheering, yay, you're on the boat.
Wow.
Yes, it's so exciting.
That's really cool.
So, I love it. Amy's such a great picture painter. I love it. Like, I'm getting excited listening to her story. I love it. So, my week has probably not been near as exciting. I've been on this, like, decluttering mode right now, which is interesting. I think I'm still trying to get through my happiness project with Gretchen Rubin. Eventually, I'm going to come on a podcast and I'm going to say to you guys, Jennifer has finished the book, but we have yet to finish it. And one of the chapters, I know she had talked about decluttering, and that was one of the things in my book I talked about minimalism, like was clearing space out because it frees you. When you don't have all this stuff in your way, it frees you, right? But the thing is, I don't know if you guys are like this. For me personally, when I look at tasks like my house, like I cannot, like I look at that and I go, oh my goodness, there's like too much to tackle in there. So this week I decided what I was going to do is I was going to find areas in my house that were bothering me and tackle one little thing at a time. It's been amazing.
Yeah.
So like the other day I got the little nook. I call it the nook. It's by my stove where my kitchen is. There's like a little cubby where all the iPhone cables go and the plug-ins and everything else that people throw up there. I'm like, you know what? We're going to clear that out. Got me some containers, threw everything in there. I was so excited. This morning I tackled my headboard, got that all cleared off. The books are gone in the shelves or wherever they needed to go. It's a good feeling.
It is.
So yeah, that's been my big, I guess, wins.
Yeah.
Of the week.
I know, right? And this was your Starter Girls top 3, was the top 3
yes,
decluttering places.
Yeah,
right?
well, what I was going to say is our Starter Girls weekly top 3 are like top 3 messy spots in the house.
Perfect.
I want the messy spots. Where do we have those? Because we have them, right? All of us have messy spots. So why don't you go with this one first, Amy?
So I would say for me, for sure, like the hands down one is my office. I've kind of always learned like to have like one spot that like when you come in, like you just kind of throw everything there. Because if nothing else, it actually does keep the rest of the house kind of clean. If you haven't like just like put random stuff everywhere. So I did learn that. But then it also becomes like the spot, that I'm trying to work in there, and I also have it's like my dumping ground. So that's always kind of a constant struggle for me. And then in my bathroom, whenever I like change my clothes or whatever, for whatever reason, I always just throw them like over the tub. And so about once a week I have to go and like hang them all back up. I mean, because they're kind of like hanging over it, so at least they're not like getting like crumpled or whatever. But that is definitely a spot for me that like a couple times a week, or at least once a week, I have to like, okay, what am I doing with all this stuff? Yeah, like the little overhang of the tub there. So those are probably my 2 biggest areas. And as a woman, like with the bathroom counter, I don't know if you're bad, but like all my little things that I use on a daily basis, I tend to like throw there, but then after a while, like it kind of stresses me out. So
yeah, we have lots of cluttering spots. I think everybody in my house is a clutter person. Like, there's just stuff everywhere. And I thought, when my middle moved out and left for college, we got like kind of a pile cleaned up. There's still people in my house, so there's still clutter everywhere. And so I would have to say the one spot I cleaned that was aggravating me the most was that one spot by the stove. That just drove me crazy. There was just those cables sitting there, so I got that clean. The other spot would probably be my desk. My desk, and that, like you, it's kind of in the back of the room. I have it, a door there, I shut it off and throw everything in there and don't have to look at it. And then, what's the other spot? Oh, my son's bathroom. My son's bathroom would have to be the other spot. So
Yes.
my daughter's coming home from college this weekend to we're gonna run 5Ks this weekend, but she's coming home for appointments, so I'm like, we're gonna have to get that bathroom cleaned up before she comes home. Hello.
That'll be so much fun. I can't wait to hear about your races and everything.
Yeah, I haven't done a 5K in a while. I run all the time, but
Yeah.
it's been a while since I always joke because people ask me if I'm still running, and my saying is it's been a while since I paid for a race.
Oh, okay.
I still run. I just haven't paid for any in a while. But don't get excited because I don't have any marathons in the plan right now. I'm not at all excited about training for one of those. So we'll stick with the 5K.
Yeah, let's not do a marathon.
Yeah, we'll stay. So we are going to get our guest on here. We are super excited. We always like to have these little fun chat sessions when we start out. Just kind of, I think it's fun. It kind of humanizes us and lets people know that we are really real people with crazy stories. We have lots of fun, right? But we have a fabulous guest on here, and I'm super excited to get her on here and welcome her. This is Andrea Pass. Neat thing about her, she is the owner of a public relations consultant company, her own company, which is Andrea Pass Public Relations. She has been in the industry for 30 plus years. Incredible. And her expertise is in national, regional, and local media relations. Kind of cool. And she's represented companies such as Chef Wolfgang Puck and Four Ocean, just to name a few. She gave me a long list. I'm going to put her bio up when we get this done and airs out. She is on the board of trustees of the New Jersey Association of Women Business Owners. And just a fun fact about her is that she was named a leading woman entrepreneur top 25 brand builder for 2018. So we are super excited to get her on here and welcome her. So Andrea Pass, welcome to our show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, we are excited.
Yeah, we're so excited to have you on. And I always love to just start with like some really fun rapid fire questions so people kind of get a feel for you a little bit. So Andrea, are you a morning or a night person?
I am a morning person. I get up at 5:25 every morning. I'm at the gym by 5:40 every morning. I'm working out, I'm home, I'm showered, I'm at my desk usually by 7:30 in the morning. So I am totally a morning person. Give me the whole day.
I love it.
That's awesome. Why 5:25? That's a very specific time.
You know, it's the funniest thing. I don't even know how we started with the 5:25, but I found that 5:30 got me to the gym too late. And I didn't want to get up at 5:20. So it's
It's the magic time.
It works. 5:25. I like it.
That's really cool. Are you a cat or a dog person?
Neither. Actually, I grew up with goldfish. Okay, so we had a bowl, and Woolworth, the 5 and dime, was across the street. And we would have 2 fish. One was Klutz and one was Lulabelle. And some mornings we'd come downstairs and one had somehow jumped out of the bowl and was kind of gone on the floor, and we'd flush them, and then my parents would give us money, and we'd go back across the street and buy another Klutz or so I never got into being a cat or dog person.
We had goldfish too, lots of them. They were actually feeder fish for my dad's Oscars, and we would rescue them when the fish didn't eat them, so they would become our pets. So we went through lots of goldfish.
Oh my gosh.
I can relate to that, Andrea.
Do goldfish normally jump out of bowls?
Ours did. So I have not done my goldfish research, but I can't really speak for that.
We've had fish jump out of bowls.
Yeah?
Yeah, they like to commit suicide. I'm like, what is
so
up
weird.
with that?
Yeah.
Like I've had plenty of stories. I mean, we've had stories where my daughter came in her room and there was like a fish on the floor, and we're like, how'd the fish come before it jumped out of the bowl?
Oh my gosh.
You know, and you're like, well, it's dead now. You know, what do you do?
know.
Sad moment.
Yeah, the rest is history.
Exactly.
That's so crazy. Makes you wonder if like why they don't ever offer lids for the bowls, but you know.
Aquarium. Right.
I know, right? I know. Well, yeah, for an aquarium, but like for a bowl.
Right.
Hello. That's so interesting. Okay, so what's your favorite food, Andrea?
My favorite food has to be soft chocolate chip cookies. Now, should I be eating soft chocolate chip cookies all the time? No, but nothing like a hot, warm, soft chocolate chip cookie.
That sounds so good right now. I'm hungry.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so like you go to the hotels and they have that, you know?
Even better with ice cream.
Because when we travel and we get there too late and they've run out of them, we'll say, oh, did we miss the cookies? And a good percentage of the time they say, we'll get you some, and they bring them up to our room.
Oh,
and we're
wow.
so excited because then we get our extra stash, and they're definitely warm then.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Oh my gosh, that sounds so good.
Ask and you shall receive.
Exactly, exactly. I love that that's your favorite food. That's awesome. So tell us a little bit about you, your home life, your career, your background, how you got into this industry. I'd love to just kind of know a little bit more about you overall.
Well, it's interesting because when I was in high school, I was always chairing the publicity committees. And I went off to college and I was going to be a broadcast journalist. And I wanted to be the next Dan Rather. And of course, when I ask people today who are younger, they have no clue who Dan Rather is. But back in my day, Dan Rather was number one. He was CBS Evening News, and I was going to be the next Dan Rather. So after college, I studied broadcast journalism. I go into New York City in my little navy blue suit and my little brown briefcase, and I walk into CBS, and they say to me, okay, take a typing test. This was the time that every woman was supposed to be a secretary. And I just wanted to get in the company. So I took a job. There was a freeze in the broadcast area. Off I went to Woman's Day magazine as the administrative assistant in advertising, trafficking, and layout. Got promoted about 3 to 5 weeks later. And as soon as the freeze lifted in the broadcast area, I got a job in PR for the CBS radio division.
Wow.
And I really enjoyed doing public relations. And I had an interview to be one of Dan Rather's assistants. And I got called back to the second interview and I didn't take it. The more I thought about it, the more I didn't want to be someone's assistant. And the more I wanted to have a career and a white picket fence. And to be a journalist, I would have been traveling. And I wanted to get married, have children, live in the suburbs, have volunteers abilities and get involved in other activities and have my career. So public relations was the way to go. And I've loved every minute of my public relations career. So it's been great. It's been great. And I have the white picket fence. I'm married 32 years. I have 2 children. I live in the town that I grew up in. Mom and dad live around the block. And I have an overflowing life. It's great.
Wow. Wow. I love it. I love it. So tell us a little bit, because you've been in this industry for a really long time. We're going to probably think of some extra questions we want to ask you, because you've got kind of a really impressive record. So you've been in this industry for quite a while. And I mentioned a couple of the companies that you have represented. Tell us a little bit about some of these companies that you've worked with in the past, and this is the stuff I want to hear. So tell us some of that.
It's really interesting because as a public relations professional and having worked for a number of entrepreneurial agencies, so my name was not on the door, it was always a great experience to have these clients and to secure press coverage for the clients in order to increase their brand awareness. So when I went out on my own about 1.5 years ago, that was my goal, to continue doing that. And I look back at the history of things that I worked on. So for instance, I have an expertise in the as seen on TV category. Who would have thunk it?
Yeah.
So, but wait, there's more. So I've worked with so many of these as seen on TV products companies to talk about their products and make sure their products are reviewed and included in coverage on radio, TV, print, online, podcasts, new media. That's really grown into working with consumer products, with books, with entrepreneurs, services, other types of products and gadgets. So for instance, you mentioned Chef Wolfgang Puck, and he is a joy to work with. And I worked with him on his Wolfgang Puck pressure oven. And that was really great. And then he started a cooking school and I worked on that. So working with him was a joy. But when you work with a name, people take your phone calls.
Right.
It moves faster in the world of public relations when you have that name and you have a story. You have someone like Chef Puck who creates amazing delicacies for the governor's ball at the Oscars every year. So that would be a foot in the door. But my expertise is working with people who don't have a name, products that aren't well known, because then I can get those out there and get the press interested. And a result is you as a consumer will learn about it using various different touch points all over the internet or your radio or your TV or what have you, to learn about products and services so that I'm increasing the awareness for those clients using the press. So I call that, and most people call that, third-party editorial endorsement. So we're not paying for these press reviews. We are working on them editorially. And that's why Andrea Pass Public Relations was born. And I've enjoyed working with so many different clients over the years to increase their brand awareness using a press model.
Love it.
That's fantastic.
Love it. Yeah, love it.
I love it. I was going to ask you too, because you talked a little bit about even in high school, you know, how that's affected you now, but like, do you have a fun childhood experience or memory that kind of impacts what your career ended up looking like or who you are today?
It's funny because I look back to those days and I was going to be the journalist. That was what I was going to be, even though I was the press person, the press committee person in high school and even in college. And so it's hard to pinpoint an exact time, but I always knew I loved the media. So it was just a question of what side of communications was I going to be on. It was going to be a communications program, and I went to Glassboro State College in South Jersey, and I majored in communications with a concentration in radio, TV, film, and I was the news director of our radio station, WGLS-FM, the voice of Gloucester County, and had a great time, and I loved that. But moving on, the more I experienced public relations, the more I realized it was for me. So there's not one point, but I think that we all have a gut of things that we like to do, and we find a way to zig and zag to achieve those things. And I never thought I was going to be an entrepreneur. That was something that just wasn't in my rearview mirror, or my forward mirror, or whatever, you say, but it wasn't there. And this wonderful opportunity presented itself, and I had so many clients supporting me to say, go out on your own and do this. And that's how my own consultancy was born. So there's no way to pinpoint one thing, but I think that all of us as starter girls can create a something if we put our blood, sweat, tears, and heart into it.
I agree. And you know what this reminds me of? As she was saying this, yesterday I read something from Jordan Peterson. I follow some of his stuff, and he was talking about how when you get so focused on just the goal, you really don't get to enjoy the journey. And sometimes when you don't enjoy the journey, you miss the other goals that come in there. It expands. And so as she's saying, I mean, he said it very much differently than I'm saying. I'm giving the gist of it. But the idea is, how sometimes, like when you were talking about this story about how you saw yourself doing this and then you really didn't know how this other stuff was going to kind of manifest, it just came about. It really reminds me that when you're going through this process of whatever it is you're doing, when you enjoy what you're doing, things evolve. And sometimes it's kind of like when we created this podcast. I mean, I went back and I was coaching a gal, and I keep telling the story how I pulled out an affirmation that I had written in 2018, March of 2018. I looked at it for probably 2-3 months, slipped it away, had completely forgotten about it. And then, of course, I pull it out to teach this gal, how do we write affirmations? I pulled this out and I'm like, wow, like 3 of the things that I had put on the affirmation I had completed, but there were things that had evolved since that I wasn't even thinking about in 2018, hence the podcast. So
it's interesting because one of my clients always says, if you love what you do, you've never worked a day in your life.
Amen. We know that, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I agree. Well, and I am so curious. Okay, so you worked for somebody else in public relations, and then at some point you started your own agency. So how long have you owned your agency? And as starter girls, I always love to kind of hear the process of, how did you make that decision? What did it look like? Was it lean years? Like some of the things you maybe had to overcome, either, emotionally, mentally, whatever that looked like. I think a lot of people would love to know how that worked.
And I think that we each have a different path, a different journey that took us to where we are. But I was working for a public relations firm on the West Coast. I was working remotely because I'm based on the East Coast. And there were warning signs that things weren't good there. My work was great. I had lots of clients, prospective clients. And I had clients saying to me, go out on your own, go out on your own, go out on your own. And I kept thinking, okay, I'm going to do this. And I started planning. And a few weeks later, a third of the company is downsized.
Wow.
And I was in shock when I got that phone call and was told, we have to downsize you. And I said, well, basically you're firing me. No, it's not being fired. Well, yeah, you're downsizing me, I'm being fired. It's the same thing. But that door closed and it opened this other door. So the timing was perfect because I had a bevy of business relationships that were there to support me. I started on June 1st of 2018. I had my first client by June 5th. He, in fact, I love him to pieces. He bought me my first business cards.
Wow.
So that relationship, and when I needed to get more this year, he insisted on buying me my next round of business cards. So it shows the relationship. And by the end of, the second month or the third month, I had clients, I was meeting people, I was doing things, and I was on my way. So I'm in business for a little over a year and a half, and I've never not had clients. And I'm very cautious about who I work with. Most of my clients come from referrals or people that I know. And it's not a blind thing for the most part. And they know what I can do. And I am setting expectations realistically, because I look back at previous, someone I worked for many, many, many years ago. He would misrepresent things to the client. I don't do that. I'm honest. This is what we can achieve. This is what we can't. In the olden days, get me on Oprah. Now it's, get me in the Wall Street Journal or on Ellen. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
There has to be an angle. There has to be a story. And I set realistic expectations for my clients so that they know if they're working with Andrea Pass Public Relations, the work is getting done. So I think that starting my own agency, setting realistic goals, and working on these clients and securing press coverage, I'm happy. They're happy. It's all great. It's all great.
I love that. Well, and I think my next question was going to be, what makes Andrea Pass unique? And I love it. I think you kind of stated it all. I think you told us. You have anything you want to add to that?
I think that I focus on public relations, media relations, getting coverage in the press. Other PR people will do that, plus social media, plus marketing, plus analytics. I don't do all of those things.
Okay.
I'm one person. I'm a solopreneur. I don't want a staff. I want the clients to know. You work with Andrea Pass Public Relations, you get me. You don't get an intern. You don't get an inexperienced person. You get me, and therefore I am standing firm on what I can do for you, and you're seeing results. So I think that I have the ability and the know-how because I've been doing this for a long time. And in public relations, we do have to zig and zag and pivot. There's a lot of pay-to-play opportunities in today's world. I try to avoid those for the most part because that's not what my clients are going to benefit from. I know there's a lot of new media. I'm reading and learning every single day. So I keep on top of new media, or a TV show that's getting canceled, or a magazine that's folding, or a new magazine that's opening, or a new podcast, or a new blog. So it's that constantly being educated that I can then in turn offer those skills to my clients.
I love it.
Yeah.
Experience. I love that she's hands-on and she's accessible. I love all of it, Andrea. It's amazing.
I know.
I was going to ask one funny question. I got to
have
throw
one too.
this in there. We're both thinking of things as we're talking.
I know.
Are you able to tell us this? Who has been your most interesting client? I guess maybe dynamic, most fun, different?
Gosh, I really loved a lot of my As Seen on TV product clients because I've had an opportunity to do really fun things. So for instance, I ran Inventors Day pitch-a-thons for a number of these clients. And think of it, Shark Tank meets Inventors.
Wow.
On that scale. And this way the clients would have a chance to meet the inventors and see, okay, do we want to go into a deal? So here's a success story. We did an inventors pitch-a-thon with a company called Top Dog Direct out of Philadelphia. And we held this in the building next to the Liberty Bell, which was very, very cool. And I put a call out for inventors. We went through the list and we picked 25 inventors, mostly from the East Coast, that were all coming to Philadelphia for their chance to pitch the board. And they were given 5 minutes to pitch, so it wasn't a quick 30 seconds, but an infomercial is 2 minutes. So you've got to really sell it quickly. You don't really need 5. But our second gentleman to pitch had an item called the Be Active Brace. It was a knee brace that helped to reduce the symptoms of sciatica.
Okay.
And he was a physical therapist. He had done his research and he had this gadget. Well, the panel from Top Dog Direct fell in love immediately. He stayed till the end. They signed a deal within the next day. Within 4 weeks, we were in the studio shooting an infomercial. Within 90 days, his product was in Walmart, Dwayne Reed, Target, CVS, you name it, it was there. And all from this pitchathon. So you had this at-home inventor who I believe lives in the Baltimore area, young man in his 30s with a number of children, and he was able to eventually buy a new home and get a van for his children and do these things because his product was picked up by this marketer, and it was all because I ran an inventor pitch event that got tons of press coverage, but most importantly, it gave the client an opportunity to find a new product.
Wow.
So that was like probably, that was one of the most fun experiences. Another as seen on TV company, I was able to secure ABC 2020, who did a double segment on their pitching events and their business, and that was phenomenal. So I've met such great people.
Yeah.
And really that's the most. I have so much fun.
It's evident. Yes, yeah. I love it. You're passionate about it. And we always talk about that. I mean, if you want to get people excited about what you're doing, you have to be excited about it. You've got to be passionate about it, right? Mm-hmm. Enjoy it. And I love that. She is just, you can see it in her face. Like when she's talking, you can see the enthusiasm and the excitement. This is what people say about me all the time. I always have lots of energy and I'm always excited about stuff. So I love it. I love it. Love it. What was your question? I hope you didn't forget it.
No, I did not forget it. So, okay, so I always love to throw it back to how Hollywood perceives different people. So you're the PR person. So in theory, you're the person that's the fixer, when everything goes wrong. You're like the Olivia Pope. Yeah. But I mean, I'm assuming that doesn't probably happen every day. But have you had situations like that where you had to be the Olivia Pope, or you had to fix? Was that part of your PR, or what is your total job too? How much is? What are you doing the different things?
So for instance, if I've secured an interview, and we're using TV as an example, so I've secured an interview at a TV station, they're going to interview my client. Maybe my client is going to do a food demo, for example. Maybe they've written a book, so we're going to go in studio, and suddenly the studio tells us, when I've checked this beforehand, is there a working stove? Are there working burners? Our stove doesn't work anymore. So here we are. I remember I'm in a studio with Kathy Mitchell. So if you remember Kathy Mitchell, she had the Dump Cakes books. Dump Cakes, Dump Dinners.
Wow, yeah.
And an energetic bundle of a woman. And she's like everyone's grandma. And so I'm like, okay. We had a food stylist who was working with us because she had to purchase everything because we didn't live in that city. So I reached her, she reached her contacts. We got some electric burners that we plugged in. I'm sauteing things beforehand, so I'm not a cook. But now I'm sauteing things beforehand so that when the segment was happening, Kathy was able to do her interview, highlight her book, her dump cakes, and her cookware, and everything was done. So you jump in as a PR person to fix things. I have straightened many a tie. I have cleaned many of a lapel. I've even applied some makeup to some men to just get the shine off of their face. So it's when you're on site with your client for TV, you can do all of those things. I'll make sure I get a photo of my client with the hosts whenever I can, because then they can use that on their websites and on social media. So I'm always thinking of what else could we do? Who else could we meet? And here's is there time for a funny story?
Yes, always. Yes.
Okay, so we're at the Fox News channel in New York City. I'm with AJ Kubani, who's an expert in the as seen on TV category, and we're sitting there, and in walks Raven, and I'm excited because at the time my daughter watched That's So Raven.
Yes, my kids. Yes.
So I'm going back a number of years. And we start talking, and one of AJ's products is the pet egg. It removes the calluses from the bottom of your feet.
I have one.
I love all these products.
It is a fabulous product. It's probably 10, 12 years old by now when it first launched. And so we were talking to someone else, and she says, "Did you say pet egg? I love the pet egg." And so we engage in this conversation, and we had to go because it was our turn to go live on air. And we exchange phone numbers, and she says, "Are you ever in LA? I have inventions to show you." Wow. We happen to be going to LA about a week or two later to do Chelsea Lately. So we arranged to have coffee with Raven. Now, of course, my daughter is so excited when I tell her this. And the day that we're having coffee in LA, my daughter and her theater group from Fair Lawn High School in Fair Lawn, New Jersey, were going to a theater competition. And I knew she was going to be on the bus while I was having coffee with Raven. I said to Raven, would you mind if I called my daughter? Would you say hello to her? And of course, Raven was, over the moon. I get my daughter on the phone, and she said, I can't talk, I'm on the bus. I said, yes, but I have someone here to talk to you. And my daughter knew who I was with. And so Raven gets on the phone and says to Haley, hi, it's Raven. I hear you're involved in theater. Well, my daughter puts it on speakerphone. The entire theater group hears Raven.
Wow.
Raven congratulates them and wishes them well on their competition. And it was all because of meeting someone in a green room at a TV station with a client.
Wow.
That's awesome.
The power of connections.
It was very cool.
That is so awesome. My kids used to watch that show, so I know who it is as well. How awesome is that?
I know.
Can you imagine your mom calls you and they're like, hey, the person you're a big fan of, I got him right here next to me.
I know.
Yeah, and I had done that. I was doing a shoot. I had represented a men's suit company in New York City, and their spokesperson was Walt Clyde Frazier from the olden days of the New York Knicks. And we're doing a shoot, and it was, I think, my dad's 80th birthday. Dad is now 87, so we're going back. And I'm with Clyde Frazier, and I said, would you mind if I called my dad? Would you say hello? I did the same thing. And I got my dad on the phone. I said, Dad, I'm with Clyde Frazier. He says, what? I said, hold on, he's here for you. And he gets on the phone. He says to my dad, hey, Larry, I hear you're a big Knicks fan. And my dad to this day still talks about that. So when you meet certain celebrities and you're in certain situations, some of them, 98% of them, are really sweet and will take out that 30 seconds or minute to do something nice. There's a bunch that, of course, are not, but for the most part,
that is so awesome.
Being in that TV environment and working with celebrities and I don't get starstruck very often, but every once in a while there's someone who's just so sweet and so nice, and you're kind of like, wow, that's a great person.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know, they're real people, right?
Yes, and I love her stories. Wow.
I know, you have really good stories.
I know, we could probably sit here for a long time. I'm sure, that's why I asked that question. I'm like, who's out there? I know she's got some amazing stories.
Yeah, it's fun, and I think being in public relations and meeting new people and constantly being out there and helping your clients and another example, not celebrity driven as much, but I often have clients at the International Houseware Show, which has been renamed Inspired Home Show, or the National Hardware Show, or other shows, trade shows. And I'll walk the trade shows and I'll find press people who I didn't previously contact, and I will grab them to interview my clients. So I take a very grassroots approach to what I'm doing, because sometimes the press doesn't want to plan in advance when they're going to a trade show. Right, so gotcha. I've sort of attacked the press at trade shows to make sure that my client gets coverage and gets that awareness. So that's always a fun thing to do, and to show your client, well, I'm bringing someone over and this person writes for XYZ, or this person is scouting for this TV broadcast, and I could bring that to the client. So I think that being a go-getter and taking all different approaches, because public relations is not by the book.
No.
Right. Yeah, no, I would think you would have to adapt.
Yeah, I think you have an interesting skill set, because I imagine you have to be very creative, you have to be very impulsive, you have to be, really great at building relationships with people. You also have to know when to push, when to not. I would think there's just, your skill set's really, really interesting. Well, and I've got kind of a fun question that I was thinking about, because I can tell you do a lot of collaboration with all of your clients. And when I think about collaboration, like for example, when I was in school and we had to be in a group project, it gets kind of interesting sometimes when you're collaborating with people. And so you've done this for a career, and I think that's really cool. So like when you are working on like a project or a goal for your clients, what is your experiences, your schedule, your thought process look like, and how does that work in collaboration with your client?
It's a good question.
That's a very good question, because I think that one of the things that frustrates me about the public relations field is so many publicists who do a plan. This is the plan, and we're going to do this in January, and this in February, and this is in March. Well, that's not realistic, because the media world is forever changing. So for instance, I'm working on this environmental story with 4Ocean. They are an ocean cleanup company that pulls plastic and trash from the oceans because 16 billion tons of it is thrown into our oceans. It's terrible.
Yeah.
And they're out there working to clean our oceans. They have sustainable products that they sell that helps to fund what they're doing. So of course, this is a great story. And as I've talked to the press, they're like, okay, we have this going on and that going on, whether it was the impeachment hearings or fires in Australia or earthquakes and other things happening in Puerto Rico. And then get back to me. I get back to them. And what's the story now? Oh, we can't talk now. We're talking about the coronavirus.
Right.
So that's, you can't put public relations in a bubble that this will happen on this date. You can work toward a goal, but it doesn't mean it's going to happen because we're working on a news cycle. Other times we're working on things that are not news related. So that becomes more evergreen and someone might want to do the interview. So it's really learning how to work with the schedule and collaborate with the journalist and with your client to get it happen, but it may not happen on the day you want it to happen.
That makes so much sense. Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, hopefully around Earth Day, we'll be able to do some great stuff for 4Ocean. I love them. We've seen them. I've seen them myself on Facebook, and every time their sponsored ad comes up, I'm looking at it. I'm clicking on it. I'm looking at all the videos. I just think what they do and what they are doing, and even just getting the word out, is really, really powerful.
Yeah, and I think looking at 4Ocean, that it came from these two young guys who went on a surfing trip in Bali after college graduation, and they couldn't surf because all of the stuff in the ocean and in the waters. And they realized the fishermen couldn't fish. Yeah. And they came up with this concept, let's hire fishermen to clean the waters. Mm-hmm. And that morphed into 3 years later, 8 million pounds of trash, plastic pulled from the oceans, and they just opened a new division in Guatemala about a week or so ago. So you look at a personal situation, and I work with circadian optics light therapy lamps. And Amber Leong, who's the founder of this, was born in Malaysia, did not have indoor plumbing. Her parents found a way to send her to college in the US, almost died of toxic shock syndrome. Wow. And lived in Minnesota and was always down and out, and learned about light therapy and created these circadian optics light therapy lamps. So there's this personal story of this woman who made a business out of something that affected her. And I think you look at those things and you look at successful entrepreneurs, and to be able to tell their stories is rewarding.
It is.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just to even be around inventors, I think that would be such an exciting thing. I just read something the other day that Thomas Edison was actually a night owl, and that's why he created the light bulb. I was like, oh, one of my nice night owl friends. But yeah, he just hated it because he would try to be up all night, and by candlelight it just didn't work very well. So.
And awesome. He holds the most patents of anyone,
right.
Is Thomas Edison. And actually, I sit on the executive committee of the nonprofit United Inventors Association.
Oh, wow.
Because I love the inventor community. I've been involved with them for a long time. And so I'll do a quick shout out for the United Inventors Association. If any inventors would like free membership, just go to uiausa.org and join the United Inventors Association and get tips and connect with a new ambassador and find out where there are clubs in your neck of the woods to meet with other inventors so that you know how to work to get your invention to market. So that's a great organization to be involved with.
That's awesome.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
It's awesome. Awesome. Well, I know earlier you mentioned a little bit about wanting to be, our lights just went out in here. I'm not sure what happened. We got like dark in here, but I'm going to keep rolling this while we get that situated. So you mentioned earlier a little bit about wanting to be a journalist and Dan Rather. And so this was making me think, who would you say are your influencers? Like, who has influenced you the most?
I'm going to not give your typical famous person answer.
That's good.
I think
the
people that influence me the most are my husband and my children. Because I want them to see that you can do whatever you want to do. And I think that I want them to be proud of me, and I want to be proud of me. So I think they're my greatest influence because they've always allowed me to do what I had to do. And when I had to travel for work and my children were younger, my husband and my parents and friends stepped up to the plate to be there for my children. And my children knew I was traveling and I was doing things with clients because I wanted to. And it was great to be able to have that work-life balance. And I think they're my influencers.
I think that's great, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's what I would say. You know, I think work-life balance is important, and I think, you know, I've always thought about, you know, women being entrepreneurs. I mean, think about this. We used to say this in network marketing, is that so many times, often women would use their family as excuses not to, I say, propel forward, move forward and do things. And I've always looked at my family as the reason why I do things. And I talk about this all the time, you know, even as we get older and our children are aging. I know like mine, I've got 2 adult children now. Nobody ever believes that, but I do. And 2 of them are out of the home now. And it's like people sort of kind of get this idea that, you know, if you're a mom at this age, you can't do anything. And then you become a mom at this age and you still can't do anything. And I think it's empowering when women are doing things and setting the example that, hey, it is okay to be a mom and it is okay to rock your scene, right? Do something you're good at and lead by example. Your kids learn a lot from watching you do that. So I think that's an excellent answer, and I am like behind you on that 100%.
Yeah, and I think that to become an entrepreneur, you know, for them, I have 2 20-something children, and to see them be successful in their careers and find their path and have an opportunity to maybe go on a business trip or learn from other people or attend a seminar and always learn, that's great for them. And for me, at this stage of my life, to be able to have my career, be able to work on clients I need to work on, and to be able to then take an hour out to go out to lunch with my parents, which I do once or twice a week. You can't replace any of that. So I think that you have to decide as an entrepreneur or as someone who is a starter girl to decide, do you want to live so you can work, or do you want to work so you can really live? I want to do a little of both, but I want to work so I can live.
Right, exactly.
I love it.
Well, and kind of having that reflection of, you know, where your kids are now and of course where you are in this stage in your career, what advice would you have given to your younger self?
I think that we have to experience everything the way it comes. I don't think I would change anything about the way that I did things, the way that I worked for the CBS radio division. And then when I left there, I went into public relations at agencies in New Jersey, and then this agency in LA, but I started working remote. I think that you have to let life take its course, but I think that if there's something that's not working, then make an effort to change it. And I think that I stayed at an agency years and years ago. I had a bully boss, and I stayed for a long, long time because it was helping pay for college for the kids. And, you know, when my daughter graduated college that weekend, the next day I went in and I gave my notice.
Wow.
Because I said, okay, I can make this move now. And I had another job already lined up. And I think that don't stay somewhere longer than, you know, if you can make a move, but the best thing to do is look for a job while you have a job. And believe in yourself and believe in your skills. And there's a word that I unfortunately say sometimes, and I stop myself. Eliminate the word just from your vocabulary, because you didn't just do this, or I just did that. You did it. And the word just almost diminishes what you've done. And I always catch myself. And it's my one word that I hate when I end up using it, because everyone should believe in what they're doing. So if I could go backwards, I wouldn't change anything, but I would recommend for other people, make a change if something's not right for you.
I love all of that. And I agree with all of that. That's what I would say. All of it. It's amazing. Thanks for all your wonderful insight. That's just amazing. Good stuff. Okay, so I'm going to switch gears on you for just a little bit here, and we're going to wrap this up. But I got to ask you some fun questions. So you've talked about your family and all your great stuff, and you're passionate, and I love your energy and all that you're doing. So let's expand on that. What do you like to do for fun, besides represent your amazing clients?
No, we are enjoying traveling. As a matter of fact, our daughter's getting married in a few weeks.
Oh, wow.
And then we're going on a cruise a few weeks after that. We love cruising. We're a big cruise family. So we love to do that. We just booked a trip to Europe for a few months from now. So we're starting to plan our excursions there. We've already booked an Alaska cruise for next summer. So we love to travel. So that's more a lot of planning and getting ourselves organized. So whether we travel just my husband and I, or we travel with friends, I love to travel. We love to spend time with friends. So whether that's going to the movies or going to a Broadway show, we're seeing To Kill a Mockingbird in a few weeks on Broadway. So we're excited about that. We're seeing the Eagles in concert at Madison Square Garden. I've been to Billy Joel concerts a million times, huge Billy Joel fan. And so we love doing things. And I think, that's just fun. And I think Amy mentioned The Bachelor. I do watch The Bachelor and The Bachelorette. So
I love it. It's my guilty pleasure.
She just seems like Andrea. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's very funny because it is one of those things that it really is pathetic, and it's such a guilty pleasure.
It's
right.
I have
a girlfriend of mine. She's an actuary in New York City, and she and I compare our notes about.
How funny. How funny. I love it. I think Andrea just has so much warmth and energy. I love it. It would be just fun to hang out with her for a while, right?
I know.
Too bad we can't have you here in the Dallas area, right? This would be so much fun.
If you come to New York City, I'll come meet you in New York City.
Hey, we may have to take her up on that, huh?
Special broadcast.
There you go, right?
I like that.
We might have to make that happen. Love it. So, Andrea, if our guests wanted to locate you, what would be the best way for them to reach out to you?
Well, you can certainly reach out because of Andrea Pass Public Relations. I'm always looking for new relationships, whether you're a journalist, you're a blogger, or whether you're looking for a public relations firm. So my website is AndreaPassPR.com. I'm on Facebook, Andrea Pass Public Relations. And I'm on Twitter, NJ_Andrea, and Instagram, Andrea Pass PR. So the best bet is track me down through my website, AndreaPassPR.com.
Perfect. And when we air this, we can put some information in there as well to make sure that your bio gets out and your contact information. So, any other questions or any other comments you want to add to this, Amy?
No, I just wanted to say thank you so much for your time, and just your wealth of knowledge has been so much fun just to hear. A starter girl that has a few more seasons under their belt and has so many amazing things to share with us and our audience. I mean, I just learned so much today. So thank you, Andrea, for your time.
This has been fun. Wow. Fun.
Thank you, Amy and Jennifer. This was really a lot of fun.
Yeah, we always we love Starter Girls. So we're excited about what you're doing and what you've already created and all the lives that you're going to change through your work. And I love your passion and your energy. And I think it says a lot about you and where you're going to be going with your career. So thank you. So I think it's time to wrap up with our Starter Girls mantra. So we're going to finish this up. But before we do that, I do want to say to our listeners, if you like our podcast, please be sure you go to iTunes or to wherever you listen to your podcast and give us a rating. And you can also do that on Facebook because we cannot do what we do without you. And we thank you. All right. So our mantra, it is a great day to be brave. You are not getting any younger. You might as well start now. You have the power to change your circumstances any day you decide. Let today be that day. Rise up, be amazing, be you, do you. All right, we say take care, be safe, and be kind to one another. We'll see you next time.
Have a great day, guys.
Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you.